Guitar heroes, how you doing today? Eric Andreas, your Guitar Sage here, and today we're gonna have some fun looking at all these guitars here. I get a lot of questions about them all the time, and I haven't done any sort of tour as far as my guitars. We're just gonna be covering 6 today, or at least these in the studio. I may bring some in from my other studios. I've got 4 studios in this section here: a writing room for songwriting with my wife and others. I've got a one-on-one studio. I've got this studio, and then I've got another studio for recording and slash video production and all sorts of fun stuff like that. And there's guitars in all those rooms, as well as just about in every room in this house. We've got guitars, acoustic and electric and just all. But I won't be showing all of them to you because your time is valuable to me. We're going to blaze through these, okay? And I'm not going to be playing through them. I'm not going to be playing any of these guitars because I do in all my videos. So if you want to know what a particular guitar sounds like, just search on YouTube. Just look around on YouTube, and you're going to see me playing any one of these guitars, okay? So let's start with this guy, this beautiful rock guitar right here. This is a Gibson Les Paul R8. And it is a reissue of a 1958, all the way down to the Brazilian, I think it's Brazilian rosewood or Brazilian wood fretboard. I'm terrible when it comes to the specific parts and what have you. So any bits of information that you're getting from me today is going to tap me out from what I know about specific bits and pieces about guitars, because I'm not a nerd like that. I love those nerds. My buddy Greg Ellis is a nerd like that, and he's also my guitar tech, and that's why he does all my work on my amps and my guitars, because he knows all that stuff. He knows what he's doing. I just like to play, okay? But I can tell you a little bit about this guitar. So this is meticulously set up just like the original 1958 Gibson Les Paul. A lot of people don't know that really there's only a few classic years of the Les Paul. I think it was 57, 58, 59, 60. Someone correct me in the comments below if I'm wrong about that. Again, I don't know all these details. I just know what I've heard, what I believe I've heard. And so this guitar was sitting in Guitar Center, and I was out to buy a new guitar that day. I saw this, fell in love with it right away, and Greg was with me, and he said, "Eric, if you don't buy that guitar, I will," because it was priced somewhere around $2,200, and it should have been at least double that. Well, so I bought it, brought it home, and the first thing Greg likes to do is he likes to look at the pickups, pull things apart, and see what's going on. And so when we pulled these pickups out, we found out that they're Tim Whites, which this set of pickups alone is $1,000. Tim White is known as the top patent applied for Gibson style pickup maker that's out there. So he winds his own pickups, makes his own pickups, the whole 9 yards. And I believe he uses a lot of old vintage parts. So there you go. These pickups scream one of the best playing, sounding Les Pauls that I've ever played, and it's mine, and I'm very happy. I'm very excited about that. So until I have $300,000 to buy the original 1958 or 59, then this is going to have to do, and it does just great. Probably sounds, plays, and feels exactly like a regular 58. So I'm going to save about $298,000-ish on it by buying the reissue. And made with the same types of woods. So pretty cool, right? So that one, and the year on that is probably like a 2001. So that's not necessarily a vintage per se, although that would be considered an antique, because I think 15 years is an antique. All right, this one is in no particular order, well, from left to right, I guess, or right to left, your right to left. This is a 1969 Gibson SG. So a lot of people don't know this, but the SG was a spin-off of the Les Paul. In fact, in its early days, I think in 1960, this was called the Les Paul. What? Yeah, it was called the Les Paul right in the beginning. But then they changed that right away to an SG, and I think that stands for solid guitar, if I recall that correctly. A lot of people know this guitar from Angus Young and a myriad of other players. And but this is a 1969. The story goes that this was purchased. So I purchased this from my buddy at King B Guitars, which is a little guitar luthier that's out in the sticks here. Great guy, and actually worked on my refretted my Strat, which we'll be looking at here in just a moment. But this guitar was supposedly sold to him from the engineer who engineered the Runaways. The Runaways spun Lita Ford and Joan Jett. Those were two of the gals that were in that group. So it was an all-girl rock group, and supposedly this guitar was swapped back and forth between the girls, Lita and Joan Jett. And so this has that yummy rock and roll yumminess on it because it was owned by some rock stars before, and I love that. I love buying old instruments, especially when they were owned by somebody else before. Now I'd have no proof that that she owned this. I just don't. I don't have that. But if I was, I guess if I was trying to sell this guitar to somebody, I would probably say that it was owned by somebody else like Robbie Krieger from The Doors or somebody like that, or Angus, if I was going to try to lie, which I wouldn't. But if I was going to try to get something for it, I probably wouldn't say the Runaways. They weren't the biggest group in the world, but they were definitely a big group, girl group, right? So pretty cool stuff. And this guitar, oh my God, I love that. I love this guitar because you can go right up to the top and just no cramping at all, whereas the Les Paul, it's more cramping, and it just has a different type of sound than the Les Paul, but great nonetheless. And then this is my Gibson, my Gibson SJ200. It's a Super Jumbo 200, and this is known as the king of the flat tops, right? This is the just a fantastic acoustic guitar that you've seen Loretta Lynn play, Elvis Presley, and a myriad of other artists since it came out. This is not. This is an antique. I think this is a '91. So it's crazy because that just doesn't seem that long ago to me anymore. But it is. It's well, it's a while. So nonetheless, fantastic guitar. Love this one. You've seen me play this in a bunch of videos. And I stole this guitar for $2,000, and I've been banging it around a lot here. Oddly enough, I'm not really super careful with my guitars. I'm careful with them, but if they get a bump or what have you, I'm not too worried about them. I mean, they're vintage, right? So this guy right here is a 1967 Fender Telecaster, completely original. And I bought this from Grune Guitars, George Grune. Have a personal letter from him saying this is everything that I believe it to be, which is a 1967 Fender Telecaster. So, you know, what a lot of, you may not know this, but when you purchase a vintage guitar, what you should do, because I have purchased vintage guitars from a very big guitar company before. I won't say the name, but it rhymes with Guitar Genter. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. It rhymes with that. And I bought several vintage guitars. Now I love Guitar Center. Trust me, I love the guys there. But I bought a couple vintage guitars. I bought a 1960, or I think I bought a 74 Tele and a 74 Strat, and they were matching. They were both butterscotch, and or the TV yellow, whatever you want to call it, and they both turned out to be hodgepodge, like the pickups and what have you were from different years. And this happens a lot, my friend. So if you're going to spend several $1,000s for a vintage guitar, take the pickups out. Make sure the pots and everything are old. And a lot of times you're going to see dates stamped on the neck, on the body, on the pickups. And that's how you know if you have those original parts. Now, some parts you may not be able to tell, you know, like the peg winders and stuff like that. Maybe that could be replaced. But you just want to give everything a good once over and make sure one of them isn't a different color or isn't worn out a lot more than another, and what have you. So great guitar. This is absolutely 100% completely original. You can even see the neck on it that's been worn down. And this is a pretty cool little bit too. I don't know if you can see this or not, but the guitar player before me had it and probably played a lot of gigs in a bar where he or she was sweating a lot because this bottom part of the neck is not damaged from water, but it's stained. You can see it's got water stain on it right there. So, so pretty cool. It's just, you know, again, a lot of love in these guitars, and I love to see that. I love to see a guitar that's just been worn out. This is probably my favorite guitar. This here is a 1965 Fender Strat, 100% original, even with the old pick guard. And so you know that these pick guards are old when they're not white, when they turn this greenish color, because this was white at one point, but they were using a specific type of plastic that aged a certain way. And that's why when you see like Frusciante or some of these guitar players that have these older Strats, you're going to see that old green pick guard, and you know what that is. In fact, this old green pick guard right here I could sell for about $2,500 on eBay. What? Yeah, just for the pick guard. I know, little piece of plastic, but that's because they don't make them anymore like that. And so for real Fender Strat aficionados, most of the time, most players want 64 and before. This is a 65, but let me tell you why this is actually a 64. Is because the reason that guitar players really want a 64 or before, now these are like real vintage nerds, although I have to say that this is the blues guitar of choice. 65 is the blues guitar Strat that the blues players are trying to get a hold of because of its sound and because of its sound. But in 1965, CBS purchased Fender, which is why a lot of people start turning their nose up after that year, because it was more of a corporate thing. And whenever that happens, you know, they kind of lose that same passion that the original, in this case, Leo Fender, had for these guitars and his making them with quality parts and what have you. A lot of times when these corporations come in, and they're in the business of making money, not making great guitars or making great whatever, and so they use cheaper parts. Well, so in '65, those cheaper parts started happening. Well, this was manufactured in February '65. So basically, I've got all the good stuff of a '64, but not the price of a '64. So I didn't steal this guitar, but I can promise you that that it's going to continue to go up in value. And not only that, more importantly, it just plays great, it sounds great, and it's got the stink all over it. I mean, it's just got that. It's just a beautiful guitar. So I'm in love with this guitar. Always wanted one since I was a kid. I've had many Strats, but I'm talking about an old school, nice vintage Strat. Everything original in it except for the frets. Of course, that doesn't affect the value of the guitar. When you refret a guitar, that's like getting an oil change on a vintage car. You want to get an oil change. Don't be uncool and leave the old oil in there. We don't care about the old oil or the old oil filter or the old strings or the old frets. Everything else, keep the same, all right? So everything's original on this, like I say, except for the frets, but no one that's not even an issue. And by the way, George Grune, I think it's guitar.com or guitars.com. Check him out, because that guy sells guitars to everybody, but all the classics. I mean, Eric Clapton's been in his store a million times, and so many great guitar players. Probably the most visited guitar shop in all history, and the guy has written the Bible on vintage guitars. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, you should look up George Grune. It's spelled Gruhn. Great guy, and has some great instruments. And if you're ever in Nashville, visit Grune's. Okay, it's the big building with all the bars on the window, because there has to be, I mean, I couldn't even guess how many millions of dollars worth of guitars in there. I mean, 10, 20, 30, I don't know, but it's a very big store, and all the guitars are very expensive. Okay, so this beauty was also a dream guitar of mine growing up. This is a Gretsch 1959 6120. So the 6120 is the same guitar that Brian Setzer plays, and it's known as the rockabilly guitar, if you will. This is a Gretsch Chet Atkins 6120, And everything is original on this one. Same thing with this. I went into Grune a few years before I purchased this, and talked to one of my buddies there, who's a big Gretsch guy, and he knows everything about Gretsch. And I told him, I said, man, I really want one. And he said, you want a 59. 59 is like the year, because there are certain years that certain guitars stood out. And he said, you want a 59. So I'm like, all right, so I'll wait for that. So I waited. It came into my email, so you can subscribe to their email list, and they put those guitars up, and a lot of times they're gone within minutes. So this guitar came up, and I was like, buddy, put that thing on hold, because I'm in love with that guitar. And I didn't even touch it, hadn't even smelled it, hadn't even played it. I went there, saw it, played it, fell in love with it, just like I knew I would, and the rest is history. So there, my friends, are 6 of my guitars. I'll probably have another one of these sometime, another one of these tours, if you will, maybe on the rest of my guitars, because I do have some other guitars that I really do enjoy. I've got, travel guitars and miniature guitars and MIDI guitars, modeling guitars, acoustic, baritone, I mean, just name it, I've got it, because I love the different types of guitars. So all that being said, my friends, I just wanted to give you a little tour, so that would help some of the folks that are asking these questions about these guitars, right? Hey, I've got a free course for you that's at YourGuitarSage.com/30. No joke, it's free. The first 30 lessons that I teach all my students in Nashville. Come see me here in Nashville. We'll go through all those lessons together, and you'll spend several $100s in about a year, or you can get them for free by clicking the link below. Same exact lessons that I would sit in front of you and teach. So enjoy that. Take advantage of that. There's PDFs. There's all sorts of great stuff that's going to help you with playing guitar. It's going to build a foundation. Thousands, tens of thousands, actually we're well over 100,000 people have enjoyed these lessons and have learned from them and are in my courses. So my friends, do yourself a favor, hit that link. If you want a free ebook, you can go to YourGuitarSage.com. I'm on all those social networks where the kids hang out, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat and what have you. Would love to answer your questions there, but leave your comments below. Let me know what you think, and please, my friends, hit subscribe and share this with a friend today. But leave your comments below. Let me know what other classic guitar, what am I missing? Because my goal is to die with all the classics. So what classics don't I have? I know I need a 335 yet, and I know I need a Martin, but let me know, what classics do you think I should own yet? I'd like to hear what you have to say about that. All right, my friends, as always, be kind to all beings. Don't trust the man, and practice your guitar. See ya.